Most of us underestimate the power of the words we speak to ourselves. But the truth is, your inner voice is shaping your entire reality.
The way you talk to yourself becomes the way you live your life. That one sentence can change everything if you let it. Most people speak to themselves in ways they'd never speak to anyone else. They tear themselves down. They repeat the same negative words day after day, and they wonder why nothing changes. But here's the truth. If you talk to yourself like you're not worth it, you'll keep living like it. Talk to yourself like this for just 5 days is not just a phrase, it's a challenge. Reset. A decision to take control of your mind and direct your future. This video isn't about theory, it's about action. It's about learning how to speak the right words at the right time so you build the right mindset. Watch closely, think deeply, and for the next 5 days, talk to yourself in a way that makes you stronger, clearer, and more focused than ever. This is where change begins. Chapter 1. Stop calling yourself lazy and start being honest. Now you know, most people don't even realize what's holding them back. They think it's time. They think it's money. They think it's bad luck. But the truth, it's usually the way they talk to themselves when no one's around. That quiet voice, that silent conversation, that's where your life is being shaped. And if you're constantly telling yourself, I'm just lazy, or I'm not built for this, then you're building your future on a lie. You weren't born lazy. You weren't made to sit around and waste time. Born with potential, with the ability to grow, with the power to improve. But what happened? Somewhere along the way, life knocked you around a bit. You made some mistakes. You lost a little confidence, and instead of fighting back, you started giving yourself excuses. You didn't say, I didn't try hard enough today. You said, I'm lazy. You didn't say, I got distracted. You said, I can't focus. Do you see what that does to your identity? This kind of talk destroys people from the inside. And the worst part, you start to believe it. You say it once, maybe in frustration, then again tomorrow, then again the next week. Before you know it, you've convinced yourself that laziness is who you are. But it's not. It never was, and it never has to be. You don't fix your life by tearing yourself down. You fix your life by being honest about what you're doing and what you're not doing. You fix your life by taking responsibility, not blaming yourself in a harmful way, but owning the truth. That's where the change begins. So, if you've been telling yourself, I'm lazy, stop right now. Stop using that word like it's a part of your personality. It's not a character trait. It's a behavior, and behavior can be changed. But only if you're willing to see it for what it really is. You're not lazy, you've just been undisciplined. You've been tired. You've been discouraged. You've been overwhelmed. And you haven't had the right system to get yourself back in control. That's what you need. You need clarity. You need structure. You need accountability. And you need to start talking to yourself like someone who wants to do better. Start saying this. I didn't manage my time well today. I didn't follow through on my plan. I let distractions take over, but I can fix that tomorrow. I can show up stronger. I can plan better. I can get one small thing done, and I will. That's the kind of talk that builds strength. That's the kind of talk that gets results. See, the people who win in life aren't superhuman. They're not more talented than you. They just tell themselves a different story. They don't wake up saying, I'm lazy. They wake up and say, I've got work to do. And I'm doing it. Even if they don't feel like it, even if yesterday wasn't perfect, they don't carry shame into the next day. They carry discipline. And you can do the same. You don't need a massive breakthrough today. You just need honesty. You just need to sit with yourself and ask, what did I avoid today? What did I choose not to do? Why did I spend that hour scrolling instead of starting my work? Not to beat yourself up, but to understand your patterns, because when you understand your patterns, you can change them. And when you start changing your patterns, your life starts moving forward. So here's a better way to talk to yourself. I didn't do enough today, but I know why. I let comfort win, didn't push myself when I needed to, but I'm not going to label myself lazy. I'm going to take ownership and fix this. You start saying that every day and everything changes. Your energy changes, your confidence grows, your momentum builds, because now you're leading your life instead of making excuses for it. Some people waste years just calling themselves lazy. They never stop to think that it's just a habit of thinking. And like every habit, it can be broken. But you can't break a habit. You defend. And when you call yourself lazy, that's what you're doing. You're defending your inaction with a label. You're making it permanent. And you don't need to do that anymore. Start being honest. Say, I've been avoiding the hard stuff. Say, I've been spending too much time being comfortable. Say, I've been waiting for motivation instead of creating it. That's not weakness. That's strength. That's self-awareness. That's what builds a new you. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to go from 0 to 100, but you do need to change your inner voice, because what you say to yourself becomes what you believe, and what you believe becomes what you do, and what you do becomes your results. So how do you start? You start small. When you wake up tomorrow, talk to yourself with purpose. Don't reach for your phone. Don't tell yourself it's too early. Say, I'm awake and I've got a responsibility to myself. That's all. Then get up and do something, anything that proves it. Make your bed, drink water, open your journal, plan your morning, start moving. That's how momentum is built. Then throughout the day, catch yourself. If you feel lazy, say, this is just resistance. I'm stronger than this. I can get something done right now. And then do it. It doesn't need to be big. Just something small that puts you back in motion. When the evening comes, don't waste time regretting the day. Review it. Ask yourself, where did I win? Where did I fall short? And most importantly, say something strong before bed. Something like, today wasn't perfect, but I moved forward. I'm proud I didn't give up on myself, and I'm coming back stronger tomorrow. That's how people change. Not with hype, not with loud motivation, but with quiet, consistent, truthful self-talk. That's what separates those who make progress from those who stay stuck. Stop calling yourself lazy. It's not helping, not making you better, and it's not who you really are. You're just someone who needs to hear a better voice inside your own head, one that pushes, one that leads, one that believes in action. So for the next 5 days, talk to yourself like someone who's ready to grow. Talk to yourself like someone who's done making excuses. Talk to yourself like someone who knows they can do better and is ready to prove it. Because you don't have to stay where you are. You don't have to live in delay. You don't have to keep repeating the same cycle. You just need to change the way you speak to yourself. And it starts today. Chapter 2. Speak like someone who's tired of wasting time. You reach a certain point in life where wasting time stops feeling harmless. It starts to feel heavy. You feel it in your chest, in your gut, in your energy. That nagging feeling that you could have done more. You could have made progress. You could have used that hour, that morning, that whole day differently. And after enough of those moments stack up, something inside you gets fed up. And that's exactly where change begins. Not when life gets easier, but when you finally get tired of wasting your own time. Time is not just something on a clock. It's your life. It's your one shot. And the way you speak to yourself about how you spend that time shapes everything. If you talk like time doesn't matter, your life won't change. But if you start talking like someone who's done making excuses, someone who respects their minutes and their hours, then you begin to take control. And when you take control, everything opens up. Most people speak like time is unlimited. They say, I'll do it later, I'll start tomorrow, I'll figure it out soon. But soon turns into weeks, weeks turn into months, and before they know it, the year is gone. The worst part, they talk to themselves like it's normal. They convince themselves it's okay to delay their goals, that it's okay to skip the work, that they'll somehow become consistent later when things are more comfortable. But comfort never leads to breakthroughs, it leads to regret. Now ask yourself, how do you speak to you? What kind of language do you use when you've wasted a full day scrolling, eating, overthinking, and doing nothing that pushed your life forward? Do you say, "It's fine, I'll try tomorrow"? Or do you say, "This is not who I want to be"? That difference in language is everything. One allows delay, the other demands change. If you're tired, wasting time, your self-talk must match that feeling. You have to start using words that push you, that hold you responsible, that remind you your time is currency and not 1 second of it comes back. You don't need guilt. You don't need shame. You need clarity. You need precision. You need to look in the mirror and say, "I'm not going to keep living on pause," because if you don't change how you speak to yourself about time, no external motivation will help. You'll keep starting and stopping. You'll keep drifting. And one day you'll wake up realizing you were always capable. You just didn't respect the days you had. You need to talk to yourself like a leader. A leader doesn't waste time and pretend it's fine. A leader evaluates. A leader plans. A leader doesn't negotiate with laziness. So tomorrow when you wake up, don't just roll over and scroll. Sit up, breathe, and say out loud, "I have work to do. My time matters today. I don't have time to waste anymore." Say it even if you don't feel motivated. Say it when you're tired. Say it when your mind wants to delay. Because repetition shapes belief, and belief shapes action. And you need both if you want a new life. Time is not the issue. It's how you speak to yourself about time. That's what creates urgency. That's what forces you to cut the distractions, to ignore the noise, to stop letting other people's timelines control yours. There are people less talented than you doing more with their lives, not because they're better, but because they talk to themselves differently. When they waste a day, they admit it. They don't hide. They don't avoid the truth. They say, "That wasn't good enough. Let's fix it now." They don't need a new year. They need a new level of self-respect. And that starts with what they say to themselves every day. Start acting like your time is connected to your value, because it is. You show me how someone spends their day, and I'll show you what they truly value. You say you want success, but do you give your time to learning, building, growing, or do you give it to comfort, entertainment, and delay? The only way to change that is by changing how you speak to yourself in real time. When your mind says you can do it later, speak back. Say, "I've said that before and it cost me. I'm not doing that again." That's what someone who's tired of wasting time says. That's what someone who's ready sounds like. Don't aim for perfect days. Aim for accountable ones. Days where you tell yourself the truth about what you finished, what you avoided, and where you lost your focus. And then speak with power, not with excuses, but with direction. Say, "This next hour is mine." Say, "I'm not going to scroll for the next 30 minutes. I'm going to finish something that actually matters." Say, "If I waste today, I can't get it back, so I'm going to use it." Say, "I've wasted enough time in the past. I'm not repeating that version of me." These words, simple as they sound, can rebuild your self-discipline from the inside out, because words are habits. And when you build the habit of speaking to yourself with urgency, with care, with demand, you create discipline without even thinking about it. You've had enough slow starts. You've had enough lost days. You've had enough pretending you're waiting for the perfect moment. There is no perfect moment. There's only right now. And right now, you can choose to speak like someone who's done wasting days that could have moved their life forward. Start saying what you actually want to do. "I will complete my tasks before noon. I will stop distracting myself when it gets hard. I will stop pretending that relaxing is the same as progress. When you hear yourself say these things, you feel more responsible. You're less likely to waste hours because you've made a promise to yourself out loud, and those promises matter. You can't keep treating your minutes like they're disposable. You can't keep using the same language and expecting different results. Speak like someone who knows every day counts, because it does. Speak like someone who's had enough with waiting, enough with wishing, enough with the same cycle. Speak like someone who's finally taking their future seriously. You'll be surprised what happens when you stop saying, "I'll get to it," and start saying, "I'm doing it right now." Energy changes. Your schedule shifts, your habits follow, and most of all, your results improve. So speak with purpose, speak with direction, speak with fire, because the version of you who respects their time is the version who builds something great with their life. And that version is ready right now. Chapter 3. Tell yourself exactly what needs to change today. The turning point in your life doesn't come when someone else tells you to change. It comes when you finally tell yourself what needs to change, and you do it with full honesty. Not a vague idea, not a wish, not a half-hearted guess, but a real direct conversation with yourself. Clear, sharp, straight to the point. You stop pretending. You stop dancing around the truth. You sit down. You face your habits, and you say exactly what needs to change today, not tomorrow, not next week, today. Too many people spend years circling the same problems because they never speak to themselves with clarity. They keep saying things like, "I need to do better," or "I should be more consistent," but they never get specific. And if you're not specific, you're not serious. You can't change what you won't face directly. You can't fix what you're afraid to name. It starts with a conversation. You sit alone. No distractions, no excuses. And you ask yourself, what am I doing that is slowing me down? What am I choosing every day that keeps me stuck? What habits are pulling me away from the life I want? You don't ask these questions to feel bad. You ask them to wake yourself up, because it's not about guilt, it's about truth. And truth always builds progress. If you're not sleeping enough and it's making you tired and unfocused, tell yourself that, not in a soft way, in a firm way. Say, "I need to stop staying up late scrolling. It's ruining my mornings." If you're wasting your first few hours on distractions, admit it. Say, "I need to get off autopilot. I've been throwing away my most productive time." If you're avoiding your goals out of fear, speak on it. Say, "I've been hiding behind fake work. I need to face what scares me." When you speak to yourself like that openly and clearly, you unlock a different level of power, because now there's no confusion. There's no room to lie to yourself. And when you stop lying to yourself, you start solving problems at the root. Change doesn't come from hype. It comes from precision. Most people fail not because they're weak, but because they're vague. They keep saying, "I need to get my life together," but they never sit down and write what getting it together really mean for you. That might mean waking up earlier, cutting off toxic conversations, removing the apps that distract you, or creating a schedule and sticking to it. But you can't do any of those things if you don't call them out one by one. You don't need a list of 20 things to change. You need one thing today, just one thing that's blocking your progress. Identify it, say it out loud, and then decide how you're going to change it. That level of honesty and directness will take you further than all the motivational videos combined. You need to develop the habit of clarity when you feel off. Don't ignore it. Pause. Ask yourself what's really bothering you. When you don't finish something you said you would, don't just move on. Ask yourself why. When a goal keeps getting delayed, don't blame your schedule. Look at your choices. Look at your behavior. Tell yourself what you need to stop doing, and tell yourself what needs to start. This is how progress happens. Not by shouting louder, but by listening closer. You already know what's holding you back. You've known for a while, but you've been avoiding the conversation. You've been brushing it off, minimizing it, pretending it'll fix itself. It won't. Change doesn't happen by accident. It happens when you take control of the discussion in your own head. You have to lead yourself like you would lead someone you care about. If someone you loved was stuck, you wouldn't give them vague advice. You'd say, "This is what's wrong, this is what you need to do, and I'll help you if you're ready." Now do that for yourself, because nobody else is going to do it for you. You're the only one who hears every thought, every excuse, every delay. That means you're the only one who can challenge them in real time. You need to stop letting your mind off the hook. Stop allowing soft answers. You ask hard questions. If you keep hitting snooze every morning, don't say, "I'm not a morning person." Say, "I'm choosing comfort over growth." If you haven't made progress in months, don't say, "It's been a busy season." Say, "I've been avoiding my priority." These words might sting, but they will also set you free. When you start speaking to yourself like this, honest, clear, no nonsense, you start showing up differently. You walk into your day with focus. You approach your goals with direction. You stop chasing random ideas and start building a real system, because now your mind isn't clouded with confusion. You told yourself what needs to change, and now you can act on it. You don't need perfect answers. You need truthful ones. If you don't know how to fix something, that's fine, but at least say what's broken. If you don't know how to start, admit that too. But stop pretending the issue doesn't exist. There is power in just naming what's wrong. It turns it from something vague into something visible, and what you can see you can change. Start each day with a short talk. Not a motivational speech, just an honest check-in. What needs to change today? Sit with it, think. Write it down if you have to. Be specific. Maybe it's your lack of structure. Maybe it's the way you waste your evenings. Maybe it's the fact that you keep saying yes to things that drain you. Pick one, call it out, and commit to doing it better today. You don't need to solve your whole life in a day, but you do need to make progress. And progress begins with clarity. With that one conversation where you stop, like where you stop saying "I'm fine" and start saying "this is the area I've been ignoring," and it ends today. That shift alone, naming the change, can bring momentum back into your life. You don't have time to keep repeating the same day. You don't have time to keep postponing your growth, and you definitely don't have time to keep being unclear about what you need to fix. Get to the truth. Even if it's uncomfortable, especially if it's uncomfortable, because the truth is the only thing that leads to real action. Start leading your life with clarity, not confusion. Start demanding straight answers from yourself, not stories, not blame, just truth. Tell yourself exactly what needs to change, and then move in that direction. 1 hour, one habit, one step at a time. You'll be shocked how fast life starts to shift when you stop avoiding your own truth. You've spent enough time waiting. Now it's time to talk to yourself like someone who is ready to change, not next year, not when life gets easier, but right now, today. Chapter 4. Replace all complaints with one clear next step. Complaining feels easy. It gives you a quick release. It makes you feel like you've done something even when you haven't. But here's the truth. Complaining solves nothing. It changes nothing. It doesn't move your life forward. It doesn't clear your path. It doesn't fix the problem. All it does is drain your energy and keep you in the same spot. Every time you complain, you rehearse the problem. And the more you rehearse the problem, the more it becomes your identity. The mind likes to stay where it's comfortable. And complaining is comfortable. It gives you something to say when you don't want to take action. It gives you something to focus on when you're avoiding responsibility. But if you want change, you need to replace that habit with something stronger. Not a speech, not a big strategy, just one clear next step. That's it. It sounds simple, but this change in approach will reshape how you deal with life. The moment you feel the urge to complain, stop yourself, breathe, and ask, what can I do about this right now? You don't need to know the full solution. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to decide what the next step is. A single step creates movement. A complaint creates nothing. You're allowed to feel frustrated. You're allowed to feel overwhelmed. But you don't need to stay there. You don't need to turn those feelings into your language, because once it becomes language, it becomes belief. And once it becomes belief, it becomes habit. That's how people stay stuck for years, because they keep explaining their problems instead of acting on them. Look at your own life. How many times have you said, I'm so tired of this, or nothing's working, or why does this always happen to me? How many times have you vented to yourself or others without ever following it with action? How many minutes, how many days have been spent describing the problem over and over, instead of interrupting it with progress? You don't need more time. You don't need more chance. You just need to trade every complaint for clarity. You get frustrated. Fine. But now ask yourself, what would change this? Then do that. Do it tired. Do it unsure. Do it without motivation. But do it. The moment you stop using your voice, complain, and start using it to direct your next step, you start building momentum, and momentum creates confidence. It creates results. And it slowly erases the parts of you that depended on blame to feel better. Nobody builds anything by staying in their feelings. They build by deciding, even in frustration, that action is more valuable than explanation. And that's the kind of person you have to become if you want real change. Start developing the habit of redirection. The moment you start complaining, pause, interrupt the pattern. Ask, what can I do right now that would improve this even a little? That one habit will give you back control over your emotions, your focus, and your time. You don't need to fight every thought. You just need to redirect it. You don't need to fight frustration. You need to outgrow it. And the fastest way to do that is by proving to yourself that you are more powerful than your reaction. That you can turn energy into effort. That you can turn pressure into progress. One step, one task, one decision at a time. That shift in focus will change your mind, and a changed mind will change your life. You'll start seeing yourself differently. Not as someone who gets stuck, but as someone who takes charge. Not as someone who waits, but someone who moves. That self-image comes from your daily language. The words you use, the choices you make, the steps you take when things feel messy. You're not weak because you feel stuck. You're stuck because you're repeating the same mental loops. Those loops are driven by the habit of complaining. Break the loop by doing the opposite. Take your energy and direct it into clarity. What's the next step? What's one thing I can finish in the next 20 minutes? What's one task I've been avoiding that I can start now? What's one habit I can reset today, not tomorrow? Don't overthink it. Don't make it bigger than it needs to be. Just act. And when your mind tries to pull you back into comfort, speak up. Say, I don't need to complain. I need to complete. That sentence alone can redirect your day. You can't build anything strong with a mindset focused on what's wrong. You build with action. You build with self-direction. You build with that inner voice that says, enough talking. Let's move. Not later. Now, this doesn't mean you can't express how you feel. It means you don't stay in that feeling. You don't turn it into a story you tell yourself over and over. You feel it. You see it. You ask what you can do about it. Then you do it. Train yourself to take that path every day. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It just has to be consistent. Every complaint becomes a cue for movement. Every excuse becomes a call for a task. You show yourself that you're capable. You show your brain that you're in charge. And with repetition, that becomes who you are. That's how people transform. Not through perfect plans, but through the way they respond to small frustrations. Most of life is small moments, setbacks, tiny decisions. If you can control how you speak to yourself in those small moments, you gain control over everything else. Today might feel heavy. You might feel behind. But instead of saying that out loud, say something else. Say, I'm behind, so I'll focus on one thing now. Say, this is hard, but I'll still do what I can. Say, complaining won't help. Acting will. Simple, direct, effective. You'll start to notice something powerful when you trade your complaints for action. Your mood improves, your energy rises, your mind clears because the brain doesn't like stagnation. It doesn't thrive in confusion. It thrives on progress, on direction, on motion, and it follows your lead. You set the tone with your words. Speak like someone who knows how to respond. Speak like someone who's decided that their life matters more than their frustration. Speak like someone who chooses to fix what they can instead of repeating what's wrong. One step forward is more powerful than 100 complaints. One finished task is stronger than 1,000 explanations. One calm, clear action does more than any emotional outburst ever will. So make that your new standard. When the day feels off, when your plans fall apart, when people test your patience. Don't complain, don't spiral. Don't feed the negativity. Replace it. Replace it with a step, a call, a habit, a conversation, a pause, whatever it takes to move, to shift, to break the cycle. This is your life. It's not a rehearsal, it's not a waiting room, it's now, and every complaint that goes unanswered is a moment wasted. But every step taken, no matter how small, is a victory, a new signal to your brain that you're serious about changing. Make that your focus, make that your language, make that your daily rhythm. And over time, those small steps add up to something massive. It starts with one decision. Replace all complaints with one clear next step, and keep doing that every day until it becomes who you are. Chapter 5. Choose words that make you feel proud inside. The way you talk to yourself matters more than most people realize. Every word you say to yourself, whether you say it quietly or out loud, is shaping how you feel about who you are. And if those words are weak, negative, or full of doubt, then that's the version of yourself you start living as. But when you choose words that you'd be proud to hear, when you speak with strength, with respect, with care, something inside of you begins to rise. You begin to believe in your own worth again. You begin to act in a way that reflects dignity, not defeat. Most people don't talk to themselves with pride. They talk with regret. They talk with shame. They replay mistakes. They bring up all the things they didn't do, and then they wonder why they feel stuck, tired, and disconnected from their goals. It's because their inner voice is breaking them down. And the sad part is they don't even realize they're doing it. They think it's normal to criticize themselves. They think self-respect comes after success, but the truth is, success starts with self-respect. And self-respect is built with the words you choose. You don't need to be perfect to speak proudly. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to start choosing words that reflect the future you're building, not the mistakes you've made. It doesn't mean you lie to yourself. It doesn't mean you ignore your flaws. It means you stop speaking to yourself like someone who doesn't matter, because you do matter, and your words should reflect that. Instead of saying, "I'm not good at this," say, "I'm learning and getting stronger each time." Instead of saying, "I messed up again," say, "I'm taking full responsibility and correcting it now." Instead of saying, "I'm not like other people," say, "I'm focused on building the best version of me." These may sound simple, but they change how you see yourself. They change how you approach your challenges, change how you show up in your own light. It's not about being positive all the time. It's about being honest without destroying your spirit. Because there's a big difference between being honest and being harmful. Saying I need to improve is honest. Saying I'm a failure is harmful. Saying I'm still figuring it out is honest. Saying I never get it right is harmful. Your brain listens to these words, your emotions respond to them, and over time, your actions follow the tone you set. You have to stop letting old labels define you. Just because someone called you lazy, slow, or weak doesn't mean you need to keep repeating it. You're not stuck with the version of yourself that was confused, distracted, or hurt. You can grow past that. But it starts with how you speak. When nobody's watching, that's when your identity is being shaped. Not when the world is looking, but when you're alone and your thoughts are the only thing you hear. Start practicing this every day. When you wake up, say something strong. Say, I'm proud of how I keep showing up. Say, I'm not done growing, and that excites me. Say, I don't have to prove anything to anyone. I just have to do what I said I'd do. These words don't need to be loud. They just need to be true. They need to reflect effort, direction, and purpose. And when the day gets hard, and it will, don't use your voice to add pressure. Use it to build strength. If you're tired, say, I've done a lot today, and I'm still going. If you made a mistake, say that was my fault and I know how to fix it. If you feel behind, say, this is temporary. I've come back from worse. This kind of talk isn't fake. It's strategic. It puts your mind in a position to solve problems instead of surrendering to them. You need to speak like someone you respect, someone you admire, not because you're pretending, but because you're choosing to live up to something higher. You wouldn't talk to a friend the way you sometimes talk to yourself. You wouldn't look someone you care about in the eye and say, you'll never be good enough. So why do you say it to yourself? What you say in your head is just as real as what you say out loud, and the emotional impact is often even deeper. That's why you must choose words that give you pride, not arrogance, not ego, just quiet, grounded pride. The kind that says, I'm trying, I'm learning, I'm improving, and I'm not giving up on myself. You need to understand something clearly. Pride isn't built on outcomes, it's built on effort. And effort is reinforced by language. When you talk like someone who's showing up with effort, you build a foundation that can't be shaken by a bad day, a slow week, or a setback. Because deep down you know your words are building you, not breaking you. Every time you choose better words, you train your brain to look for solution. You train your heart to stay open. Train your body to respond with strength. This isn't some trick. It's how human psychology works. We rise to the level of the standards we speak. So raise the standard. Cut out the language that makes you feel small. Remove the phrases that make you feel stuck. If a sentence doesn't serve your growth, don't use it. Replace it. Say what builds, not what breaks. Say what moves you forward, not what locks you in place. When you look in the mirror, don't just see what's wrong. Acknowledge what you're fixing. When you feel anxious, don't label yourself broken. Remind yourself that you're learning how to handle pressure better each day. When you're behind, don't call yourself lazy. Say, I know what matters now. I'm focusing to that shift will change how you feel, how you work, and how you finish the day. There's no shortcut to confidence, but there is a path, and that path is paved with how you talk to yourself in the quiet moments. The stronger your words, the stronger your actions, the clearer your words, the more consistent your progress. It's not about tricking your mind, it's about leading it. You won't always feel motivated. You won't always be in the mood. But your words can act as a reminder of who you want to become. And when your actions match that voice, you start building real momentum. This is how people change, not by waiting for confidence, but by creating it through disciplined language. By choosing to speak in a way that they're proud of, even when things aren't perfect. That's what maturity looks like. That's what growth sounds like. Make this your new practice. Every morning and every night, Say one sentence you'd be proud to hear from yourself. It could be simple. I'm not done improving. I gave my best today. I stayed calm and handled what I could. These sentences are like bricks. Every day you lay another one, and over time you build a mental space that supports you, not one that breaks you down. You have enough pressure from the world. Don't be another voice that makes it work. Be the voice that reminds you why you're trying. Be the voice that keeps you grounded when everything feels uncertain. Be the voice that makes you proud even if no one else sees the effort. That's the voice that carries you through hard time. That's the voice that builds strength you can rely on. And that voice is built by choice. One word at a time, every day. So speak like someone who's building. Speak like someone who's growing into the person they promised they'd become. And when you do, you won't just feel better. You'll become better. Day by day, word by word, action by action. You'll begin live as someone you're proud of, not because everything is perfect, but because you chose to talk like someone who's never giving up on themselves. And that alone is worth everything. Chapter 6. Break your silence and say what you avoid. There are things you haven't said that are weighing on you. Not to other people. Sometimes not even to yourself. You've been holding it in, not because you're weak, but because it's hard to face. It's hard to say what you've been avoiding. It's hard to admit what you know deep down is true. But the truth doesn't disappear when you stay silent. It just sits inside you, growing heavier each day. And at some point, that silence becomes the reason you feel stuck, confused, frustrated, disconnected, because nothing changes until you find the strength to say what you've been avoiding for too long. Avoidance is not peace. It's a delay. Silence feels safe, but it steals progress. You may think that not saying something protects you from pain, but all it really does is protect your current patterns. If you want to move forward, if you want to grow, if you want to stop feeling stuck, then you have to break that silence. You have to speak the words that make your hands shake and your chest feel tight. You have to face the truth that's been sitting in the back of your mind, waiting for your permission to come out. Avoidance is exhausting. It keeps you looking busy but getting nowhere. It keeps you thinking about the same problem over and over. And the longer you avoid something, the more it grows into a monster in your head. But the moment you speak it, the moment you admit it, you take away its power. You name it, you own it. And that's the first step to changing it. Maybe there's something you need to say to yourself. Maybe you need to say, I'm not okay with how I've been living. Maybe you need to admit, I've been scared to start, so I've been making excuses. Maybe it's I keep telling people I'm fine, but I'm struggling every day. Or I'm pretending to be confident, but I feel like I'm failing inside. These truths aren't weaknesses, they're starting points. They're the places where honesty begins, and with it change. You can't build strength on silence. You can't grow from a place where nothing is being said. Progress starts with clarity, and clarity comes from speaking the truth you've been avoiding. It doesn't matter how long you've stayed quiet. What matters is that you find the courage now to speak up, not for anyone else, but for yourself. When you hold things in, you give them control. When you speak them, you regain it. You bring the truth into the open, where it can be dealt with. Even if you don't have the answers yet, even if you're unsure what to do next, speaking it out loud is the first act of leadership in your own life. It's how you stop hiding from yourself. There is power in saying things as they are. No sugarcoating, no dodging, just facing what's real. That doesn't mean being harsh. It means being direct. It means saying, this is what I've been avoiding. This is what needs to change, and this is where I begin. This conversation doesn't need an audience. It just needs you being honest in a quiet room. You choosing to say what you've been afraid to even think about fully. You letting go of the fear of discomfort so you can make room for growth. Start with the simplest sentence you've been avoiding. I'm not proud of how I've been spending my time. or I've been holding on to something I need to release, or I know what needs to be done, but I've been scared to admit it. Don't overthink it, just say it. Say it plainly. Say it without judgment. Because the goal isn't perfection, it's progress. And progress begins. Silence ends. We all avoid things. We all push things to the side when they feel too heavy. But real maturity is when you stop waiting for the perfect moment to speak, and instead choose to speak because it's time to move forward. You don't need to know how to fix everything. You just need to be honest about where you are and what you've been running from. Maybe there's a decision you've been putting off, a habit you know is damaging, a relationship that's draining you, a dream you gave up on, quietly. Whatever it is, speak it, say it clearly, get it out of your head and into the world where it can be acted on. You don't need permission to be honest. You don't need approval to say what's true. You just need enough self-respect to say, I matter enough to be real with myself. That one belief can carry you through anything. Because when you're honest, you become powerful. When you stop hiding, you become light. When you face what's real, you give yourself the chance to finally build something better. You may be afraid of what will happen if you admit certain things, but what you should fear more is what will happen if you don't, because silence doesn't protect you. It traps you, and your growth is on the other side of it. Today, break the pattern. Say the hard thing. Say the thing you've rehearsed in your mind 100 times, but never had the courage to bring out. Say the words that reflect what's been pressing on your heart. Say the truth that feels uncomfortable but necessary. That's where healing begins. That's where direction becomes clear. That's where you stop circling the same struggles and finally step out. You don't have to say everything at once, but start with one thing, one sentence, one piece of the truth. That's enough to move the weight off your shoulders and back into your hands, where you can actually do something about it. You'll be surprised what happens when you speak. You'll feel lighter. You'll feel clearer. You'll feel more in control. Not because everything is fixed, but because you're no longer hiding. You're facing it. You're showing up. And that is everything. Growth doesn't come from pretending everything is fine. It comes from admitting what's not, and then working on it, step by step. When you break your silence, you open a door to understanding. You stop letting your fears drive your life. You start driving at yourself, and if you ever doubt whether it's worth it to speak up, remember this. Nothing good ever came from pretending. Real strength is built in truth, and truth can only exist where silence ends. So today, choose to be brave enough to say what matters. Choose to let go of hiding. Choose to speak even if your voice shakes. Because the words you've been avoiding may be the exact ones that change your life forever. Chapter 7. Interrupt your doubt with one strong decision daily. Doubt shows up whether you want it to or not. It doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't wait for the right time. It just shows up quiet or loud. Whenever you start thinking about changing something in your life, the moment you consider doing something new, something meaningful, something difficult, that voice creeps in. It questions everything. It asks if you're ready, if you're capable, if you're the kind of person who actually follows through. And if you don't interrupt it, it will shape your entire day. Doubt wins when you do nothing. It gains strength when you stay quiet. But here's the truth. Doubt is not a signal to stop. It's a signal to act. And not just with any action, but with a strong, solid decision that sets the tone for your day. You don't fight doubt with more thinking. You don't overcome it with more waiting. You break it by deciding. You push back against that voice in your head with a clear move in the opposite direction. You interrupt it by showing it that you're still in control. You don't need to know how everything will turn out. You don't need a full plan. You just need to choose one decision that moves your life forward. One step, one action, one commitment. That decision becomes your proof. It becomes your answer to the questions doubt keeps asking. You show up, and you decide what kind of day it will be. not based on how you feel, but based on what you choose. You don't wake up confident. You build it. You don't wake up certain. You create that certainty by what you choose to do first. If the first thing you do is hesitate, the rest of your day will follow that tone. But if the first thing you do is decide, really decide, you set a different standard, you shift your mindset from delay to direction. And that shift changes everything. Start with the moment you open your eyes. That's where doubt starts. And that's where you stop it. When your mind says stay in bed a little longer, your decision is I'm up. Let's begin. That's the first victory. And it matters because it proves to your mind that you are the one in charge, not your feelings, not your fear, not your comfort. Every time doubt enters your thinking, it's a test. Not to see if you're perfect, but to see if you're serious. If you let that doubt linger, it becomes your direction. But if you interrupt it with a clear decision, you keep moving. And movement is the cure for uncertainty. Movement builds belief. Movement tells your mind, I'm not stuck, I'm not frozen. I'm moving forward even if I don't have all the answers. This doesn't mean you'll always feel confident. It means you'll act even when you don't. You'll learn to build a rhythm where decisions come before overthinking, where action replaces hesitation, where your instinct is to do something strong and clear the moment you feel yourself slipping into second gear. Ask yourself, what's one strong decision I can make right now that will pull me out of doubt? It doesn't have to be huge. It just has to matter. If you feel like skipping your workout, decide to put your shoes on and walk out the door. If you're doubting your ability to finish a project, decide to set a 30-minute timer and start. If you feel unsure about your progress in life, decide to list out the next 3 steps you can take today. These decisions interrupt the spiral. They cut through the noise. They remind you that doubt is just a thought, not a fact. The most dangerous thing about doubt is not how it makes you feel. It's what it makes you skip. It steals your moments. It pulls you away from opportunities. And over time, it creates a gap between who you are and who you could be. That gap gets wider every day you choose silence instead of action, but it closes with every decision you make that moves you forward. Build a habit of choosing strength over confusion. Even if you feel unsure, act as if you know what to do. Trust the next step. You don't need to solve your whole life today, but you need to show yourself that you're not controlled by hesitation, that you can move, think, decide, and lead yourself even through the fog. Nobody escapes doubt forever, but the strongest people don't give it room to grow. They don't feed it. They don't sit with it too long. They interrupt it quickly, consistently, with clarity, and that's what you need to practice every single day. Not just once in a while, every day. Make one decision each day that cuts through the noise. Make one decision that represents who you want to become. It might be waking up earlier. It might be saying no to something that distracts you. It might be speaking up instead of staying quiet. It might be finally starting what you've been avoiding. But whatever it is, decide. Choose it with full focus. And let that one move be the evidence that you're leading your day, instead of letting your emotions lead you. The longer you wait to make a decision, the louder doubt becomes. It starts small, then builds. It questions everything. Your ability, your past, your timing, your future. It makes problems look bigger than they are. And that's why you can't let it stay. You must respond before it grows. And the best response is movement. Always movement. This is how you build mental strength. Not by avoiding doubt, but by confronting it head-on with a decision that proves you're still in charge. Every time you do that, you gain confidence, not the fake kind that depends on success, but the real kind that's built on the kind that says, even when I feel uncertain, I trust myself to move. Decide what kind of person you want to be, and then act like them today. That version of you doesn't wait to feel brave. They decide to be bold. They don't wait for the right moment. They make it the right moment by acting with purpose. They don't let fear make their choices. They make choices based on values, not feelings. You already know what you need to do. You've thought about it. You've replayed it. You've imagined the result. Now it's time to stop imagining and start deciding. Decide to take the first step. Decide to ignore the doubts. Decide to show up fully. Decide to do the work anyway. Every time you do, you break the pattern. You build momentum. You prove to yourself that you're not defined by your fears. The people who win in life aren't the ones who never feel doubt. They're the ones who act in spite of it. They've trained themselves to make a decision before fear gets too loud. That's what you need to train. Don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for permission. Just interrupt the thought with action. This is your new standard. When doubt speaks, you respond with a decision. Not later, not tomorrow, now. You'll feel resistance. You'll feel the pull to wait. But if you decide while the doubt is still fresh, you win, because doubt loses its power the moment you make a move. That's all it takes. You are one decision away from getting back on track, one move away from ending the delay, one choice away from becoming the kind of person you respect. It's not about making perfect decisions. It's about making strong ones, clear ones that align with who you want to be. So every day, interrupt your doubt. Do it with intention. Do it with commitment. Make it a practice. And as you do, you'll stop being someone who watches from the sideline. You'll become the one who steps in, takes ownership, and leads with action. That's the person who wins. And that person is already in you, waiting for your next strong decision. Chapter 8. Cut the mental noise and speak with clarity. There's a lot happening in your mind every single day. Thoughts, worries, memories, comparisons, decisions, second guesses, and distractions, all fighting for space. Most of the time, you're not even aware of it. You just feel tired, unsettled, unclear. You feel like you're doing a lot, but making little progress. You feel like you can't focus, can't finish, can't breathe without something pulling you in another direction. That's not because you're lazy or broken. It's because your mind is filled with noise that you haven't taken the time to shut off. Mental noise isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just endless thinking. Replaying the same problems without solving them. Wondering what others are thinking. Overanalyzing your choices. Judging yourself over small things. Making a big deal out of situations that don't even deserve your energy. And while you're busy doing all that, the real you, the part of you that's clear, sharp, and focused gets buried. Your direction gets lost. And the worst part is you start to accept this as normal. But it's not. It's not normal to live in chaos. It's not normal to feel overwhelmed just by your own thoughts. It's not normal to speak to yourself in a way that makes everything more complicated. The truth is, most of us are not lacking discipline. We're just drowning in mental clutter. And the solution isn't to push harder or think more. The solution is to cut the noise. Strip it back. Get to the core of what matters. Then speak to yourself from that place with calm, direct clarity. You have to stop entertaining every thought. Just because something enters your mind doesn't mean it deserves your attention. Most of it is just background chatter picked up from the world around you, things you saw online, things people said, fears that don't even belong to you, old beliefs that have no place in your current life. But if you don't stop and question these thoughts, you'll act on them. You'll carry them. You'll live by them. And they'll quietly run your life. You can't think clearly in a loud environment. That includes the environment inside your own head. That's why you need to slow down. Not your life, but your thinking. Not your ambition, but your reactions. Every time your mind spins, stop and ask, what am I really trying to do right now? That one question can pull you out of the noise and back into purpose. Clarity doesn't come from rushing. It comes from pausing, from breathing, from giving yourself space to understand what you want, what matters, and what your next step actually is. And you don't need 10 steps, you just need one clear one. But to find it, you have to quiet everything else. There are people who spend years being busy, and yet they never move forward. Not because they aren't working, but because they're not thinking clearly. They keep reacting, switching goals, changing plans, doubting themselves, starting over. Not from laziness, from noise, from unclear thinking, from listening to every thought instead of choosing the right ones. You can't afford to live like that anymore. You don't need more motivation. You need more focus. You don't need more noise in the form of advice, opinions, and what everyone else is doing. You need your own voice, your clear voice, the one that tells you what actually matters. Start filtering your thinking. When you feel overwhelmed, ask yourself, what's real right now? What needs your energy? What doesn't? What are you making bigger than it is? What are you avoiding? Because your mind keeps getting pulled away from it. Then speak. Speak clearly, not with emotional confusion, but with calm direction. Say things like, I'm going to finish this task before I touch anything else. Or, this thought doesn't help me, so I'm letting it go. Or, I don't need to figure out everything today. I just need to complete what's in front of me. These sentences become anchors. They cut through the noise and remind you who's in control. You need to develop a habit of mental simplicity. Stop stacking your mind with 1,000 worries. Stop filling every moment with scrolling, consuming, reacting. Start choosing silence. Start choosing space. Start choosing intention. That's how clarity grows. And when clarity grows, progress follows. You stop hesitating. You stop overthinking. You start doing. You start moving not in every direction, but in the right one. That's what changes your life. Not doing more, but doing the right thing with full focus. Most of the pressure you feel doesn't come from what you're doing. It comes from what you're holding mentally. Comes from what you're holding mentally. Conversations you haven't had. Decisions you keep delaying. Expectations that aren't even yours. Let them go. Write them down if you need to. Then clear your space. Clear your thinking. Give yourself the mental room to speak like a leader, not a follower of chaos. This is how strong people operate. Not with perfect systems, but with clear priorities. They know what they're doing today. They know what they're ignoring. And they don't apologize for it, because clarity is a boundary. It protects your time. It protects your energy. It protects your progress. Start protecting your clarity. When you notice you're spinning, stop. Say, this thought isn't helping. Say, I'm going to finish this first. Then decide. Say, I know what I'm doing, and I'm not letting distraction win. These aren't affirmations. These are instructions. Clear direction for your brain to follow. And when you lead your brain with clarity, your actions follow. Stop saying yes to everything your mind throws at you. Stop chasing every idea. Stop reacting to every emotion. You don't need to attend every argument your mind invites you into. You can say, not now. You can say, that's not worth it. You can say, here's what I'm doing instead. Your words shape your focus, and your focus shapes your day. So choose your words like they matter, because they do. Way you speak to yourself sets the tone. It either creates calm or chaos, strength or stress, purpose or panic. If you want peace, speak peacefully. If you want focus, speak directly. If you want growth, speak with structure. Be specific, be honest, be clear. You don't need long speeches, you just need clear command. Start the timer and begin. Turn the phone off and work. Ignore the noise and finish this step. That's how you win the day. Not by trying to control everything, but by controlling your attention. Train your mind like it matters, because it does. Don't let it wander into places that waste your energy. Don't let it drift into conversations that go nowhere. Lead it, guide it, speak to it with intention, and watch how different you feel. You don't need more time. You don't need a new plan. You just need clarity. And clarity isn't something you find. It's something you create through stillness, through focus, through choosing the right thoughts and saying the right words. This is your moment to get quiet, to step away from the noise, to listen to what actually matters, and to say it clearly to yourself, to your mind, to your day, because when the noise fades, your direction returns, and with direction, you become unstoppable. Replace all complaints with one clear next step. Complaining feels easy. It gives you a quick release. It makes you feel like you've done something even when you haven't. But here's the truth. Complaining solves nothing. It changes nothing. It doesn't move your life forward. It doesn't clear your path. It doesn't fix the problem. All it does is drain your energy and keep you in the same spot. Every time you complain, you rehearse the problem. And the more you rehearse the problem, the more it becomes your identity. The mind likes to stay where it's comfortable, and complaining is comfortable. It gives you something to say when you don't want to take action. It gives you something to focus on. You're avoiding responsibility, but if you want change, you need to replace that habit with something stronger. Not a speech, not a big strategy, just one clear next step. That's it. It sounds simple, but this change in approach will reshape how you deal with life. The moment you feel the urge to complain, stop yourself, breathe, and ask, what can I do about this right now? You don't need to know the full solution. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to decide what the next step is. A single step creates movement. A complaint creates nothing. You're allowed to feel frustrated. You're allowed to feel overwhelmed. But you don't need to stay there. You don't need to turn those feelings into your language, because once it becomes language, it becomes belief. And once it becomes belief, it becomes habit. That's how people stay stuck for years, because they keep explaining their problems instead of acting on them. Look at your own life. How many times have you said, I'm so tired of this, or nothing's working, or why does this always happen to me? How many times have you vented to yourself or others without ever following it with action? How many minutes, how many days have been spent describing the problem over and over instead of interrupting it with progress? You don't need more time. You don't need more chances. You just need to trade every complaint for clarity. You get frustrated. Fine. But now ask yourself, what would change this? Then do that. Do it tired. Do it unsure. Do it without motivation, but do it. The moment you stop using your voice to complain and start using it to direct your next step, you start building momentum, and momentum creates confidence. It creates results, and it slowly erases the parts of you that depended on blame to feel better. Nobody builds anything by staying in their feelings. They build by deciding, even in frustration, that action is more valuable than explanation. And that's the kind of person you have to become if you want real change. Start developing the habit of redirection. The moment you start complaining, pause, interrupt the pattern. Ask, what can I do right now that would improve this even a little? That one habit will give you back control over your emotions, your focus, and your time. You don't need to fight every thought, you just need to redirect it. You don't need to fight frustration, you need to outgrow it. And the fastest way to do that is by proving to yourself that you are more powerful than your reaction, that you can turn energy into effort, that you can turn pressure into progress, one step, one task, one decision at a time. That shift in focus will change your mind, and a changed mind will change your life. You'll start seeing yourself differently, not as someone who gets stuck, but as someone who takes charge, not as someone who waits, but someone who moves. That self-image comes from your daily language, the words you use, the choices you make, the steps you take when things feel messy. You're not weak because you feel stuck. You're stuck because you're repeating the same mental loops. And those loops are driven by the habit of complaining. Break the loop by doing the opposite. Take your energy and direct it into clarity. What's the next step? What's one thing I can finish in the next 20 minutes? What's one task I've been avoiding that I can start now? What's one habit I can reset today, not tomorrow? Don't overthink it. Don't make it bigger than it needs to be. Just act. And when your mind tries to pull you back into comfort, speak up. Say, I don't need to complain. I need to complete. That sentence alone can redirect your day. You can't build anything strong with a mindset focused on what's wrong. You build with action. You build with self-direction. You build with that inner voice that says, enough talking, let's move. Not later. Now this doesn't mean you can't express how you feel. It means you don't stay in that feeling. You don't turn it into a story you tell yourself over and over. You feel it. You see it. You ask what you can do about it. Then you do it. Train yourself to take that path every day. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It just has to be consistent. Every complaint becomes a cue for movement. Every excuse becomes a call for a task. You show yourself that you're capable. You show your brain that you're in charge, and with repetition, becomes who you are. That's how people transform. Not through perfect plans, but through the way they respond to small frustrations. Most of life is small moments, minor setbacks, tiny decisions. If you can control how you speak to yourself in those small moments, you gain control over everything else. Today might feel heavy. You might feel behind. But instead of saying that out loud, say something else. Say, I'm behind, so I'll focus on one thing now. Say, this is hard, but I'll still do what I can. Say, complaining won't help. Acting will. Simple, direct, effective. You'll start to notice something powerful when you trade your complaints for action. Your mood improves, your energy rises, your mind clears because the brain doesn't like stagnation. It doesn't thrive in confusion. It thrives on progress, on direction, on motion. And it follows your lead. You set the tone with your words. Speak like someone who knows how to respond. Speak like someone who's decided that life matters more than their frustration. Speak like someone who chooses to fix what they can, instead of repeating what's wrong. One step forward is more powerful than 100 complaints. One finished task is stronger than 1,000 explanations. One calm, clear action does more than any emotional outburst ever will. So make that your new standard. When the day feels off, when your plans fall apart, when people test your patience, don't complain, don't spiral, don't feed the negativity. Replace it. Replace it with a step, a call, a habit, a conversation, a pause. Whatever it takes to move, to shift, to break the cycle. This is your life. It's not a rehearsal. It's not a waiting room. It's now. And every complaint that goes unanswered is a moment wasted. But every step taken, no matter how small, is a victory, a wow, a new signal to your brain that you're serious about changing. Make that your focus. Make that your language. Make that your daily rhythm. And over time, those small steps add up to something massive. It starts with one decision. Replace all complaints with one clear next step. And keep doing that every day until it becomes who you are. Chapter 10. End your day by saying you showed up. There's something powerful about being able to say, at the end of the day, I showed up. Not, I was perfect. Not, I got everything right. Not even I finished it all. Just this, I showed up. That one sentence carries more weight than most people realize because most don't. Most people are physically present, and mentally checked out. They're around, but they're not engaged. They go through the motions, but their heart's not in it. And that kind of living builds a life that looks busy, but feels empty. But showing up, really showing up, means something different. It means you were there with intention. It means you made effort when it would have been easier to quit. It means you pushed through the noise and stayed connected to your goal, even if just for a short time. It means that no matter how the day went, you didn't let it pass without giving something of yourself to your growth. You don't need to win every day, but you do need to show up for yourself. You need to be able to sit down at the end of a long, unpredictable, sometimes chaotic day and say, I didn't hide, I didn't run, I didn't check out, I showed up. That might mean you started the workout even though your energy was low. It might mean you sat down and wrote one page when your mind wanted to scroll. It might mean you took a deep breath, stayed calm when everything in you wanted to react. Showing up isn't dramatic. It's not about big wins or flashy accomplishments. It's about presence. It's about effort. It's about consistency. When you show up daily, you start building something you can rely on yourself. And over time, that reliability becomes your confidence, because you're not depending on luck, you're not waiting for the right moment, you're not putting your future in someone else's hands. You're doing your part every single day, and you know it. That's why your words matter. The way you speak to yourself at the end of the day sets the tone for how you begin the next one. If you end the day with frustration, with criticism, with shame, you carry that into tomorrow. But if you end your day with truth, with ownership, with pride, you wake up different. You start the next day with clarity, not guilt, with momentum, not regret. So give yourself that. Give yourself the chance to reflect each night. And something that strengthens you. Say, I didn't quit on myself. Say, I made progress. Say, I didn't avoid what mattered. Say, I showed up. Don't wait for someone else to notice your effort. Don't depend on applause. Don't seek validation from others to know that what you did today matters. You felt it, you lived it, you did it. And that's enough. You know the difference between a day when you were passive and a day when you were present. You don't need permission to celebrate showing up. You just need honesty. This practice, ending your day with that reflection, grounds you. It keeps you connected to the life you're building. Because life isn't built in big bursts, it's built in small decisions. It's built in quiet commitment, and the people who create real change aren't the ones who go hard for a week. They're the ones who show up every day, even when it's boring, even when it's hard, even when no one else sees it. So, start making it your standard. Before you go to bed, ask yourself, did I show up today? And don't confuse that question with, was I perfect or did I finish everything? That's not the point. The question is, did I stay connected to my values? Did I do something that aligned with my goals? Did I lead myself with honesty and effort? If the answer is yes, even in a small way, then you've won something, you've built something, you've laid another brick in the foundation of the person you want to become. And if the answer is no, don't spiral. Don't shame yourself, just speak the truth. Say, I missed today, but I won't let it become 2 in a row. That sentence right there, that's a form of showing up too, because it means you're not hiding. You're staying engaged. You're not letting one off day become your new identity. You're choosing to be present again tomorrow. This is about discipline, but it's also about peace, because there's a peace that comes from knowing you didn't run from your life. You didn't distract yourself from the hard stuff. You didn't disappear into excuses. You stood up. You stayed in it. And even if it was messy, it was real. And real effort always matters more than perfect appearances. When you make this your habit, your mindset shifts. You stop chasing perfection. You start valuing presence. You stop measuring your worth by results alone. You start valuing consistency. And that changes everything, because it means you're playing the long game. You're building something that lasts. You're becoming someone that you respect. Speak that into yourself, not as a reward, but as a recognition. Say, I did what I said I'd do. Say, I pushed through resistance. Say, I didn't need to feel perfect to keep going. That kind of reflection rewires your thinking. It rewires your standards. It makes showing up your baseline, not the exception. And once showing up becomes normal, progress becomes automatic. You'll stop needing motivation. You'll stop debating whether or not to follow through. You'll just do it because that's who you are now. That's what you do. This isn't about hype. This isn't about being high energy all the time. This is about being grounded, being steady, being real, being someone who can look themselves in the mirror at night and say, no matter what happened today, I didn't disappear. I didn't delay. I showed up. Let that be the voice you end each day with. Let that be the sentence you carry into your sleep. Let that be the reminder that you're not just existing, you're choosing to participate in your own life. Because at the end of the day, effort matters, presence matters, and showing up again and again, that's what builds a life you can be proud of. Not perfect days, not flawless performance, just presence, just truth, just showing up when it counts, and it always counts. So when today ends, speak it. Don't leave it unspoken. Say it with strength. Say it with conviction. Say it like it matters because it does. Say, I showed up. Then rest and be ready to do it again tomorrow.
Thank you for spending your time here, listening to these words. Every moment you give to your inner voice is an investment in your future self.